Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. It's Monday, it's December 12th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And for the most part, this is really a range day. We trended down. Um, I showed this morning on the, once you got this leg down, once we started down again, I would use that for a measured move, which gives you that. I would also measure just this part and look for that as well. And you see, we didn't quite get either one of them. And really, we just couldn't get below this support. It looked like we were headed that direction. Then secondarily, once we went lower once we had this in place and we went lower again here, I'd get that measured move. And you can see we pretty much had a measured move there. Generally, the I won't say the shorter term ones, but the more near term ones, like this leg is more near term to this leg than the whole thing is to this leg. Hopefully that makes sense when I say near term, closer in time. So this leg moving down here is probably going to be more accurate to this one than both of these might be to this leg over here. So anyway, just keep that in mind. But there were a couple of ways to look at this early on. At first, I was looking at it as a spike and channel, and you can see that this prices were reacting to this trend line, no doubt about it. But we broke out of there pretty quickly, and we're really going sideways here as well. So I really played it more as a range than I did this. And once we broke out of here, and I mean, you still could say, hey, we got a break and two legs to a new low, and then we just went sideways. So it still plays out. But I think you were better off playing this using the range. And really, I was using this for the highs and this for the lows early on. And if you see, actually I had my lows a little bit higher early on, but when we made these two lows, I moved it down. And you'll notice if you measure that, once we went higher, you can see we had a measured move basically. Once we went lower, we had a measured move as well. So we went a tick or so lower and a tick or so higher, but that's close enough. And you can see once a little bit later as the day moved on, you had to kind of move this up a little bit. So, but yeah, that's the way I played it. I played it more of the sideways. When you spend most of the day inside your overnight highs, which are here, and your overnight lows, the stuff in the gray over to this line is your overnight stuff. And when you spend most of the day within that, that's a range day. And so I'm playing this more of a range at this point, even though we did break lower and we actually stayed lower, but it's just a tiered drop is basically what it is, and they're equal distance basically as well. So hopefully that makes sense, but I wanted to kind of go over that real quick. Now we'll back out and talk about the trades. First trade I saw came right in here. Notice the resistance across here, plus notice the trend line that I was looking at that point. Notice we got a new low. We get a first entry, then we pull back and we get that second entry, and it really confirms that trend line. Earlier I might have had it a little bit lower, and it's probably still accurate right there, but since we were closing a little higher, I just kind of moved it up, and it still fits. So we didn't break higher here, but you got all that resistance across there, and that is a second entry short right there, and that's this little small bar. Your stop would still need to go above this bar right here, though, so keep that in mind. And that was a second entry short, and then it pulls back, and since I treated that like a second entry short, this was like a failed second entry long almost. We didn't break higher here, so it's technically not, but it's close enough. But it also bounced off that trend line again. It's not a great signal bar, so if you weren't treating it like a trap of some kind, I don't think I'd go short there. And in the end, you got really just enough to get out, and then it bounced. It was tempting here, but again, you don't close on your low, and we're just kind of going sideways here. We should have taken off by now, so I didn't like entering on that one. I just waited. This is really a double bottom here, so I didn't want to go short into that, and I'm glad I didn't, and hopefully you didn't either, because it bounces. then it pulls back and it tests that line and it heads higher. And I also would have measured this line and drug it up, but you can see we did get some resistance there, but it broke on outside of it. So I looked at that as well, and you can see we still got some reaction to that line on the way down. So I don't believe that's a legitimate channel, although it does look like one. I think those are more what I call action reaction lines. But anyway, we went higher, and notice we got a new low there. That swings lower than that one and that one. So you get a first entry, you pull back, you get that second entry, and notice that little channel working up, and it fails and it turns up. So I like that one. The only reason I didn't like making it blue because we're kind of stacked up there. We're a little bit away from the EMA, and generally you don't get real good setups that far away from your EMA. So I was a little hesitant, but it still fits. It's still a trap, and it still fits our criteria. So if you want to be aggressive, there's that one. And then we got up here, and we really had two measured legs up here, and then we had this big bearish bar. So I like that one to come back to the EMA. You actually get a pullback here and a lower high. It's a real small bar, so you might consider that one for aggressive. I'm not going to give it a I'm not going to make it red. We're a little bit close to the EMA, and it might bounce there and go higher again, but it just keeps going. And of course your failed second entry long is right here, and it's still within that. So, but you're right into another low here, so that's basically like a double bottom. But again, you probably could make that one green. There's some arguments for it. It would have worked, but and you're not going to get any second entries on a channel that tight. You don't have room. So that's why, if you recognize a strong trend like that, sometimes you just have to take what you get, and that's one of them. And then we do get a break here. We only get a first entry again, but I'm not going to take that one. I don't like that one, especially since we bounced down there where the support was again. We come back and we test it again, but we make a little lower high and then a lower low and then a lower high. And again, it's tempting to go short right there, but oops, wrong line. But at that point, I had my line right there, and I'm not going short right into that. And that's where your line needs to be at this point. So I like going long there. Let's bounce off that strong support again with a higher low, and it is a second entry long. This is basically a double top, so that's like a new high, first entry, second entry. I really thought we'd bounce and go higher here, but we didn't. And when we got this little trap right here, some of you might have gotten trapped here yourself on the long side, but because this is a new low, first entry short, second entry short, so it looks like it may be a short trap, but you're just kind of going sideways here. You got 3 or 4 bars stacked up by the time that breaks, and it just keeps going sideways. I was even hesitant to go short here now, even though you broke higher, but you've got a downward bias here, and you still haven't tested that overnight low yet. And you also may get that measured move the different ways we were looking at it. So you might go short there. Again, I'm not crazy about it. You get a little breakout pullback short here, but it's just a real close to the low. But when you get the trap, you finally get the reversal pattern here. And look, it went higher and look right out the other side. Look how bearish that is. I like going short then on that trap reversal bar. It's really almost a reverse image of this over here. So it's like a repeat pattern again, and you really get 2 measured legs down. You might have considered going long here because there's your you had your measured move down to right here, and we kind of pushed through, and then we pulled back again. The only reason I didn't like is it was right into that measured line right there. And so I was a little bit hesitant, but when you get the reversal pattern there and you're still got a little ways from the EMA, I like going long there. Quick, easy move. It does pull back and test it again, and you could really treat that almost like a second entry. So again, you could argue for that one to be green. Um, when it didn't go anywhere and just started going sideways, I probably would have ditched it. But we're just kind of going sideways here. Uh, this was a nice, tempting one, but you wouldn't have been able to get into it. At least not on my chart. It moved too quick. And it's really close to those last lows there. Not a lot of room, but when it touches down here and it bounces and gives you a second entry right off that line again, nice bullish bar. I like going long there. It actually pulls back and turns up again. So if you weren't already in, you could get in here, and you might even consider adding on to that one. It's late in the day, so I'm a little hesitant to do that late in the day, but it still meets our criteria. And then look what happens. We run up and we kind of break higher and we test that line. That's where we broke out from that we never retested. And you get a second entry right there. I don't think I'm going to take either of those trades. And then you get a second entry long there back off the low. So if it's right at the 2 o'clock hour, but there's still no reason you can't take that one. I probably should mark it. And you really could mark that one blue. So, and really, I mean, if you want to, somebody could argue you could mark that one. It's a second entry off the top. So, and you could treat it. But when you've bounced this many times off this low, and we're making higher highs here, I'm a little hesitant to go short there for that reason. We might could argue to give it a green one, but that's the reason I don't like giving that one blue, because look how many times we bounced down here, and look what happened. Each time we went up, we went higher. That looks like it's gaining momentum to the upside. So there's a good chance we may go higher, and it does end up going. It doesn't go a whole lot, but that's the reason I don't like those shorts there. So, but yeah, in the end, I think it's just a range day. We really closed. We opened here at around 22.55, and we closed in the end. Well, we closed down maybe 5 points in the end. We've already taken most of that back. We're only down about 2 or 3 points now. So I guess we'll probably bounce from there during the overnight. We'll just have to see. But anyway, not a bad trading day. You just had to kind of sit and be patient. You had to play the ranges. And this had a downward bias really until right in here, and then we're kind of going more sideways, and then it really has more of an upward bias. But till that point, it was really kind of a downward bias. So, and then once we went flat here, it kind of had an upward bias. So, and notice that if you played this spike and channel, you did get the break and 2 legs down, and it kind of corrected after that. So it still played out to that spike and channel as well. But I do think you were better off to play this one by measuring the moves down off that first little step, or the first little bit of the range that was created right across here. So, yeah. But the other thing I want to talk about, I want to look at my calendar. I'm going to be taking off soon. I will probably work a couple of days into next week, and then I'll probably take off. I may only work Monday and Tuesday. It just depends on how things are going Monday and Tuesday, and then I will take off for the rest of the year. So I'll probably be here all this week, maybe Monday and Tuesday of next week, but I may take that whole last 2 weeks of the year off. It just depends on how things are going, and how motivated I am to want to trade a couple more days into the week going into Christmas there. Christmas falling on the weekend is a little different this year. Usually it falls during the week, and I'll take that whole week off. But since it doesn't fall till the weekend of that second week, I may work Monday or Tuesday. But what'll happen is you'll notice that the market will get slower and slower, generally going into these holidays. As people take off, most of your traders, professional traders, are going to take the end of the year off, and they're trying to square their books up for the the funds and the people that trade for a living. They're all trying to square their books up and stuff, so things will slow down. So we'll just have to see. We'll play it by ear at this point. Again, I would say I'll probably be here till about the 21st, but I may scratch that It may only be here through the end of this week, so we'll just have to see. But yeah, just keep that in mind. But I'm going to wrap it up for the day. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.